Hello, hello, hello. The category is cheesecake, hot body realness. That was basically the premise of this past Sunday's episode, which was episode 4 of Pose, which we're going to call, well, not we're going to call what the show was called. The episode was titled The Fever in so many ways. I'm not talking about the Kylie Minogue album that came out like damn near 20 years ago. This fever was basically harping on the whole HIV epidemic from the 80s, like in the mid to late, well, it was 1987, so it was the late 80s, basically. And a lot of stuff that was going on at that time, not only just with, my God, my nose is itching. It's the damn allergies and all this dust. That's why I hate the summer. Anyway, basically, I'm just going to go into a whole Pose recap, so definitely turn in. Okay. I was about to start this damn video over because this damn thing, my nose is itching. But we're just going to keep on. Jesus. Okay. Anyway, so in the beginning, when it first opened up, you know, I have to say, I live for Pray Tell with his little reads and the category is. And then the way he says it, and it's just so melodramatic, and I just live for it because I just love Billy Porter. But Kandi, who was from the House of Abundance, walked in a category she shouldn't have walked in, which was serving body. And, you know, I was going to say serving body and face, but not face. I don't know. I've just heard that phrase so many times I just felt like saying it. But she was serving body, didn't have a body. That you can't be up in here looking at no goddamn toothpick trying to walk with no hips and ass. I did have a friend that I had to like sit and talk with about this because he went on his Facebook page and posted something or another, a comment about that he thought it was body shaming. That this category for you know, when they were serving, you know, women with curves and this, that, and the third, that it was body shaming. Quite frankly, I disagree because when you do the balls are always like sectioned into like different categories. So they have different categories for different girls to walk in. If you do not have hips and ass and boobs and all this other stuff, that is not a category you should be walking in. I do agree that, you know, generally speaking, especially in the gay community, I don't know how it is for like the lesbians, the bisexuals, and so on and so forth, even though trans girls do walk in the balls. So I guess we can include them into that. But when it comes to those type of situations in our community, basically, let's just say the gay community, there is this thing where it's an overwhelming situation where about bodies and body dysmorphia, and a lot of guys are trying to fit this quintessential look on how they feel that this stereotype of how a guy should look, like basically these muscle guys, or you should have like or what we would call Chelsea queens, which would be like these guys who pretty much have the muscular, gorgeous build. They look young because they get all that damn filler and Botox in their face. But the minute they open their mouth, like I've seen like 10 Louis Vuittons and you know, Birkin bags fall out of their mouth. So we do have an issue in regards of like people who get body shamed, or people who look. One of my friends just wrote on Facebook today that he was go-go dancing at a bar, and he's like, he has a bearish body, and in this particular bar, that type of body is welcome. It's not always, there's certain bars in New York that we have, like Rock Bar, the Cock, I believe also the Eagle, but there's a bunch of other, there are a few bars in New York that you don't have to have like the 6-pack and the muscle chiseled ass and all the other stuff to get around. So there are guys that we have like who have curves, who got a little belly, who don't have a 6-pack, who got that little beer gut, but it's cute on them and it's wearable. But one of my friends who was dancing basically said that before this guy gave him $1, that he basically gave him like a backhanded compliment, which he said he found funny, which was him saying, oh, you don't have the typical muscle bod, but you damn sure can dance. So many ways, that's basically what he said. And I was just like, ew? Like, thank you? And fuck you? Like, I don't know, what do you say to that? But he said he took the money, said thank you, and just laughed it off, whatever the case is. But yeah, I guess that's what you have to deal with in unfortunately, in this world, and where people just say these type of things. But anyway, to get back to Pose, Kandi walked in this this thing, and her feelings was hurt because, you know, you had Elektra being shady, as she always is on the show, for no damn reason. But we realized why she, later on when you watch the episode, why she's so stank and nasty towards her children, as she calls them. And I think it's because there was this whole grass isn't always green on the other side, this whole attitude where you're not necessarily as everything isn't as perfect as a lot of them try to make it out to be. So then Kandi goes outside. She's sulking. She's upset. Angel follows her. They have this conversation. Angel's trying to tell her some stuff that she's been going on in kind of ways that relate to her. So then they come up with this idea of going to see someone who can help her get the ass and hips that she wants. So they wind up going to this woman who I believe was assistant to a plastic surgeon, who says that she would watch what he would do in regards to like the fillers and silicone injections and stuff. And so she was doing it out of her house, shooting up trans women. Now, I know a lot of people aren't aware of this, but back in those days, before it became like national news and that, you know, you had that woman who was doing injections of women and trans women, and she was arrested for it. Forget her name, but she reminded me of the woman that they went to after the fact, because this woman, the first woman that they went to that worked at the plastic surgeon's office, was charging girls $1,000. But of course, they didn't have that kind of money. So Kandi wanted the Groupon edition. Now, you know, we ain't had Groupon back then, but I'm just calling it what it is. Like, you know what Groupon is. So she basically was trying to get the Groupon edition, which anybody would tell you with some damn sense. Don't be going on no damn Groupon to get no goddamn plastic surgery. Don't have nobody putting no foolishness up in you off no goddamn Groupon. Or that was like, oh yeah, I'll give you, you know, some shots in your behind and your in other areas for $100. Now, mind you, I don't know how Kandi went to the second choice, and you getting shot in your ass, and you look at the mattress, you didn't see that blood on that damn sheets. Like, to me, that was just ridiculous. But anyway, so she went to the second choice, where that lady looked crazy. Like, she had all kinds of shit up in her face. But overall, it just seemed like, you know what, that's why it's like you got to get second, third, fourth opinions. And I understand how it was, because in those days, doctors would not touch trans women in regards to giving them, you know, the injections with the hips and all that other stuff. So a lot of these girls resorted to going to underground places in New York to get shot up, and they would risk their health in order to get big boobs and hips and ass and stuff. We've seen these girls pop up on Botched, so we see like the outcome of it, and this is the price these girls will pay, just so that way their inside can match their outside. Health be damned. And as you saw during the scene when she came back and she finally got the recognition the third time, when she got her tens across the board, she passed out, wound up sick, and damn near paid with her life just so she can get that validation of not being clocked. And that's one of the things many of the T-girls want, is they want to be able to exist and walk through the world without you looking at them like, that's a man. Like, you know how these people out here are. So, also I like the scene where Angel and Damon, because Damon wound up with flu-like symptoms and had us all thinking the worst, which was that he might have been infected with HIV, because we found out that he was I mean, we saw it in the previous episode before this, episode 3. It was alluded that they were going to have, that he was having sex with Ricky. So I did like the conversation that was had in regards of Ricky and Damon, and well, let's not jump ahead, because they did have a conversation. It wasn't cute, but Angel basically sitting down and having a conversation with Damon, and them talking about the whole HIV, and him not like having that talk with them about that, because one of the things is like, especially when you're a child in your regular parent household, parents aren't really talking to their kids about sex, let alone gay same sex. So it's good in a way to have that other family, the LGBT family, the rainbow family, where they can sit and talk to you about HIV awareness and that sort of thing. So I did like that this episode was more or less about HIV awareness, going out, getting tested, taking care of yourself, being able to get on those medications and nab it before it gets worse, to the point where your immune system is so shot that you're basically just going to be in a hospice wasting away. So I did like that this episode did focus on that without it coming across as Tyler Perry preachy, which is why I don't like a lot of his movies. But I did like that this show was just more about really getting to the grit and the gut of this life, this world that a lot of people aren't aware of. Seeing Elektra finally meeting with her boo, which his name was Dick Ford. I had to laugh when I heard that. Dick Ford, played by the one and only Christopher Meloni. Oh, I love him. But Christopher Meloni, you know, from, you know, Detective Stabler from Law & Order SVU, but I've been following his career since he was on Oz, because that was my shit back in the day. But yes, he'll always be Detective Stabler to me. I kind of wish he would come back to the show, but Law & Order SVU ain't been the same, and I do stick through and watch it because I've watched it for so long. It's been on for, what, 20 years? So her going to that conversation of turning, like saying that she's been with him for 10 years, she's turning 40, and she doesn't feel complete as a woman, and she wants to get that surgery. I like the fact that they had this conversation, but the fact of learning about a lot of these men, not saying all men, but the men who, some of the men that get into these relationships with trans women, where it's like, his situation is way different than, in my opinion, Stan's relationship with Angel, because where Dick Ford's relationship, or how he looks at Elektra, it's basically like having this statuesque black woman that I'm in a relationship with, that I'm having great sex with, that has, you know, all the outer exterior parts of the exterior of a woman, but has a little something extra between her legs. That just excites me, because it's something that is considered taboo, and people like the forbidden. People are enticed by taboos and things that are considered forbidden, or something that we're not accustomed to, or that's something that is considered odd and different and weird, or whatever you want to call it. So that's the way he's looking at it. He likes the fact that he's got this chick with a little something extra between her legs that he can play with and stuff. But as a trans woman, she's like, I don't like looking at this thing. I don't like being reminded, because it doesn't make me feel complete as a woman. So now Elektra is put in this situation where she's got to risk whether or not she wants to lose everything that she has been accustomed to, especially being financially taken care of and taking care of her family, and not having to rely on stripping and prostitution and working the corners and all that other stuff in order to survive. That she has this wealthy man that's taking care of her just so she could be happy. So now that's that sort of thing that's going on with that. So she has a really big decision to make, and based off the episode, it seems like, especially after having that conversation where she walked, and we had the one and only Aphrodite extravaganza, who was like fabulous, and them having, like, her being like, okay, let's go out and eat after, because she won, and then Elektra wound up as first runner-up. So them going out and her talking, and then Aphrodite basically confiding her, saying that she got her full surgery, so she has a vagina and she feels whole, and you got to go for what makes you feel happy. And her and Elektra having that moment, that real heart-to-heart. It was great to see. I'm just going to need Dominique to work on her acting, because when you're delivering your monologues, it's always on 10. And sometimes it's like, girl, you really need to learn your levels of range when it comes to acting. Even when she was trying, I don't know, it's just like, yeah, I get it. Like, Ryan Murphy was doing basically what I would call a social experiment, was like, let's hire a bunch of trans women and have them playing these roles. But we got, look, if y'all trying to get up in Hollywood and stuff, take a class, take an acting class. The season just wrapped last week of Pose, so I need some of y'all to get up in them classes and start acting immediately. So that way, should we get a season 2, and I hope we do, that you'll have everything situated and your acting will be on point. So that's what I'm hoping for. I really feel like one of the things that I analyzed from the episode also was Elektra's relationship with the children in the House of Abundance. And to me, it felt like the reason why she would treat people like Candy and the rest of them, the two little gay boys, they basically just did a point and look cute and basically just give facial expressions. I don't know necessarily what them two do, except, yeah, exactly what I just said. But in regards of the children in the house, it just feels like Elektra's trying to control everybody up in the house, but is not really giving them any kind of fulfillment. So I just get that a lot of times, that she doesn't have control over her life, because she's allowing the money that she's getting from her benefactor to dictate her life and everything else. So she's trying to, you can't control your own life, you're going to control everybody else's. That's usually how it is. Yeah, I already talked about Elektra walking the Femme Queen realness category with Miss Aphrodite. The scene where Elektra was tucking with the duct tape, I was like, that really got to me, because it was just like really seeing the this intimate thing happening, that it's just like, I'm going out to become a woman. Like, I gotta go out and be unclockable. So I gotta tuck it and all this other stuff. And seeing that was just like an eye opener. Like, I knew how the girls be hiding they stuff. Like, they got the little special panties that's really tight that makes it look like you got a coochie. Like, there's gay boys that do that too when they're doing drag. So there's a lot of different tricks that you can do to hide your dick. Damon and Ricky talking about sex when he was having the flu-like symptoms and his fever, it took him days for it to break. That was interesting because you saw Damon freaking out, and Ricky basically saying, like, he's had over 50 partners, that they've had unprotected sex a few times, and you said that, oh, it feels better, which it does. Like, look, and can't nobody deny bareback sex doesn't feel way better, and it's more of an intimate thing, but in those days, it was just crazy because the AIDS Holocaust was real, and it took no prisoners in regards to that. And I hate it because even back then it was called the gay disease. We've come so far now, but them having that conversation and Blanca listening to the door was interesting, because it's like she didn't know how to come at Damon to talk about sex and that sort of thing, and, you know, boy sex. I mean, she's had, like, they had a little back and forth and stuff, but it was good that Ricky and Damon had that conversation. It would have been nice if we would have had it before y'all had sex, but a lot of times that happens. Nobody's perfect. In the heat of the moment, in passion, we tend to get all caught up in the lust of it all. So we don't always be quick to ask, oh, so what's your status? Like, do you have the paperwork that says that you're negative? When was the last time you got a test? Like, we don't do all of that. A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, there's, I'm sure, very few people that do that, but most people don't really ask. A lot of people just get so wrapped up in, oh, he's hot, oh, he's got a big dick, or whatever the case is, and they go in and let have. And sometimes after the fact, it's too late. I did like the fact that after that whole situation, that Blanca and Pray Tell went out to the pier and they had the conversation about what the boys was talking about and that sort of thing. And then Pray Tell basically saying that he would rather not know than, and just so that, and go out and do his business, because he was just getting sick and tired. He was losing so many people in his life. His recent boyfriend was hospitalized, as we saw in the previous episodes, and he sees that the way that the hospitals were treating people in those days, where they wouldn't even go in the room. They would leave your food out on the floor outside of the hospital room, because there was this belief that HIV was contagious. Like, if you went near them, you can catch it. So it was just a lot of ignorance and stuff in those days. And seeing that, you know, seeing all of that and this whole thing transpiring was just interesting to me. So even though Pray Tell said that, where it was just like, you know what, I'd rather not know. And that is the attitude that a lot of people, even to this day, have. I'd rather just not know, because then if I know, then you got to deal with what comes after the fact. So, after seeing that scene, it was cool to see Pray Tell basically take all the boys, as in Ricky, Damon, and Lil Poppy, took them out to eat and was like, we're all going to go get an HIV test. And then this scene of them going, and then finding out a little more about Lil Poppy's past, basically saying that, yes, he's into girls, you know, he sells drugs, this and the other, but he has situations when, you know, if it comes down to it, he lets guys suck his dick. So he's basically just like an equal opportunity pleaser. Which is good enough for me, because Lil Poppy can get it, y'all. But, so now to the scene of them going to the hospital and getting the you know, getting their blood drawn and getting the results, and the fact that everybody came back negative except Pray Tell. I'm gonna admit, I thought when all the results that was gonna come back, I already sensed that they were gonna have Pray Tell be infected. Also, I thought Ricky was going to come back positive too. I'll be honest, because it was like, with him having all those partners and being on the street and this, that, and the third, I thought it was going to be both of them was going to come back positive. I didn't think that Damon's character was going to come back positive. I sensed he was going to be negative. Lil Poppy, I thought it was going to be negative too. But those were the two that I thought. But it was good to see that I was wrong, and seeing how the reason why Pray Tell lied and told the boys that he was negative. I get why he did that. To me, I felt like he was just trying to he needed to take a moment to process everything, which is why he asked the doctor who revealed his results to him to leave the room. So I feel like he was like, I just need a minute to get myself together so I can go out to those boys and basically tell them that I'm negative, even though he wasn't. He didn't want to, I guess, have them have sympathy for him and feel bad or mess up their moment. And then plus he needed a moment to process this news, because people react to news in so many different ways, and sometimes, especially when it comes to find out you're HIV positive, I wouldn't know what that's like because I'm negative, but for people who are positive, I can imagine the amount of confusion and anger and pain and all the different emotions that you're probably going through thinking about that. So I can imagine what Pray Tell was going through, and I love me some Billy Porter, and I'm very excited to see how this whole story turns out throughout the season. Kandi getting sick and the whole ass injection, this is why I already said before, like, be careful who you're allowing to shoot things in your body, especially when you said you went to Honduras, I believe is what she said, to get, the same stuff that she said you can get from the doctor's office, and then added your own ingredients to it. Like, bitch, you could have had cement up in there, all kinds of other stuff. But it's just like, yeah, girls, you got to be, I know it's like, do your research and be careful. It's easy to say that, especially when you on you're trying to save, or you're getting like the cheap chop shop version of surgery. So yeah, Stan and Angel getting into it, that really, I thought was interesting, because she started going and having her insecurities with him as well, thinking that, oh, well, you want a girl with ass and this, that, the other, because she was going down on him while they were together in the apartment, and he was like, you know, it was the alcohol and this, that, the other, but she was just sitting there like, oh, well, dumping basically all of her baggage on him, and I'm just like, girl, what are you doing? Like, sis, calm down. Like, why are you going in on this guy like this? First of all, she wants him to leave his wife for her, which we all know that's not going to happen. Number one, he likes having this excitement with Angel, and the fact that he gets to run off and have this other life with this girl who's making him not, where he doesn't have to perpetuate this WASP lifestyle that he has basically accustomed himself to or created for himself, working in you know, at Trump Tower, having, you know, the big, you know, corporate job, having the big nice house in Jersey with the wife and the kids and the picket fence and that sort of thing, but then meeting this girl who's a trans streetwalker, and basically her allowing him to have this sense of urgency and excitement and freedom. And how he first came across seeing a trans woman, which was looking at a dirty magazine in a store, and him becoming enamored and excited by this. And people really have to realize that just because you have sex with a guy doesn't make you, not sex with a guy, but if a guy has sex with a trans girl who identifies as a woman, that does not make you gay. It's just like, we've had this conversation where it's just like seeing it from the other spectrum of the two people, where it's like you saw Elektra in her situation with her man, when she's been in this long-term relationship, and he likes that excitement of, it's like he's sort of a veteran in this whole thing, and this is not, and she clearly wasn't the first woman, T-girl, that he's been with, whereas you get to see Stan going through this, and kind of, this is the first time it's something relatively new and fresh to him, and it's something he's never experienced, and something he's just going along with the ride and going with the flow. But this is something that Angel has gone through for as long as she's gone through, and she's basically dumping all of her baggage on him. And I have to say, girl, don't be so hard on this man, because you have a good one and you're going to lose him. And I feel like here's someone who genuinely cares about you. He's not going to leave his wife, because that would mean that he would have to give up everything that he's built to have like this simple life with her. And I don't think he's ready to do that. So we all know it's probably going to end tragically for those two. I just sense it. What else? when Pray Tell revealed his status to Blanca, I thought that was great too. Because in the first episode, Blanca revealed her status to Pray Tell. And the fact that he was willing to be like, you know what, I lied, and gave his reasons for lying and why he didn't want to disappoint people and how basically they're going to go through this situation together. I thought that was empowering. I thought it was giving a great insight to this world. And then at the end part where we got to see what the others, well, when we got to see Damon dance and everybody was there to support and that sort of thing. And you could just see like this sense of freedom of Damon when he was performing versus when we first seen him perform in the first episode. So just seeing that evolution and how he just came out of that sickness and just let himself go and was up on that stage and just dancing, that was just very inspirational and inspiring. And I just really love this show, and I really hope that this show gets to stick around for a couple more seasons to come. I know the ratings aren't doing really well, and I'm really rooting for this show, but so we got to get enough people to get out there and watch it. I also want to say, so yeah, I'm going to come back and I'm going to give more reviews of this as the show goes on. I think we have 4 more episodes left. I think they did 8 episodes. They just wrapped last week, but I also want to give a shout out to Dominique Ross, who posted, which has been since deleted, I believe, off her Instagram, that she was damn near raped and assaulted at a resort in Aruba, where she was kicked out of her hotel. Says that her and her husband were out in Aruba celebrating, you know, the rap party. Well, we're out in Aruba celebrating the fact that the show was wrapped, the show's done. So they were off, you know, doing their thing and celebrating and vacationing. And a guy, from what I was reading, had accosted Dominique to go down on him. When she refused, he basically went and lied to the people at the hotel and said she harassed him, this, that, the other. But she also said that he ripped off her panties. Her panties was in his back pocket. And if they would have bothered to look, they would have known this. So there was a lot of stuff going on. And I just found like it's virtually insane that someone has to go through this. That even when you've made it in the industry, you still have to deal with harassment and stuff. It's not just Dominique, it's women and even men. Look, we've heard what Terry Crews and stuff is going through. So yes, in the era of Me Too, we still have a long way to go, and I'm glad that Dominique is better. That, you know, that she's safe, she's not hurt, that this has been dealt with, and Ryan Murphy made a couple of phone calls, which she did thank him for. So Ryan is an ally. He does care about this community, and I'll definitely keep you up on this topic as it goes along. Thank you all once again for watching this episode. I'll be back with more. Definitely follow me on Instagram at Chris Avalon Blog. Follow me on Twitter, Chris Avalon NYC. And also follow me on Facebook. Do all those things. Love you all for watching. Talk to you soon.